Hi, everyone. Today, I'm nervous. My hands have been shaking for the last half hour. Um, and today I'm going to tell a story that I've wanted to tell you for a long time. How my company, Voice of Our Own, which I started, 5, 6 years ago, how did it come to be? Why Voice of Our Own? People ask me that question all the time. And I wanted to tell you the real story behind it. But in all honesty, I was too scared. It was too fraught. It was too intense, too vulnerable. Um, but this is an interesting week. We have Mother's Day coming. We just learned that Roe v. Wade is likely going to be overturned. And there's a lot of people who have loved my work, who have given me tons of feedback about what these weekly talks mean to you. And today it was like God, universe, spirit just put their hands on my shoulders and said, this is the week. Now is the time to share your story. And so I'm here. I'm going to be talking about abortion today. I'm going to be talking about my abortion because when I was 19 years old, I had a really great boyfriend. He was really nice. He was really sweet. And I had just completed my first year of college. And I was like, this is going to be the summer I stay. I'm going to stay in my college town. I got a job working at the children's center. And I was like, I'm going to stay. And so my roommate left and all my friends left. My boyfriend left. Everybody went home, but I stayed. And so I was a bit alone. I was pretty lonely. I think I had one friend in town still, but that was it. And because my boyfriend was gone and I knew I wouldn't see him for a couple of months, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take my birth control pills because I don't know, taking the medication, I don't want it messing with me and my hormones. So I'm just going to go off it because I'm not going to see him. And then I'll start back up again, when it's time. But one day, my boyfriend surprised me for a visit. And very quickly, one thing led to another. And now I need to tell you something. I do not like to rock the boat. I am not a fan of conflict. I never have been. I learned very quickly that the best way to keep myself safe, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, was to be quiet, to go along to get along, to not challenge, to not push back, to not speak up. So my inner world was very active and very full and had a lot of ideas and a lot of opinions. But it's trapped here in my voice. It wouldn't come out. I would keep it under wraps. And so when my boyfriend surprised me and one thing quickly led to another, on the outside, everything was fine. But on the inside, I was in panic. I was in terror because I knew that I was off my birth control pills. He did not know that. And I didn't know how to say anything. I didn't know how to speak up. And so as things progressed, in the middle of everything, I said, can you pull out? And he said, okay. And then he did not. Now, I don't know why he didn't. I know I finally asked, but it was a day late and $1 short. And when I stood up and I went to the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror and I went, oh shit, I'm pregnant. I know it. I did the math in my head and I was like, yep, I know this is happening. And so I took a birth control pill, just thinking, like, hoping, praying that Hail Mary would work somehow retroactively. This was the days before the morning after pill, before there was any other way. And then I just carried on like everything was fine. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to anyone. And as weeks progressed, I felt ill. I felt different, but it was too early to take a pregnancy test. And when the time came and it was time to take that pregnancy test, I went into the Rite Aid and I bought 2 things. I bought a pregnancy test, and I bought a pint of Ben and Jerry's, because as that scared 19-year-old girl was going to approach that cash register all alone to buy one of the most publicly humiliating things that I could have bought at that time, I needed a little bit of Ben and a little bit of Jerry's to carry me on my way. That was my evening. And so I went home and I peed on the stick, and sure enough, that second pink line showed up, and I ate my sorrows away. And I called my boyfriend and I told him the news, and he was surprised and shocked and devastated. And how did this happen? And then he very sweetly said, "What are you going to do?" And here's the thing. When I was walking up to that cash register with my pregnancy test and my pint of ice cream, I realized that none of the men would know what it's like to have something inside of you, inside your body, not by your choice. And by the way, I didn't get pregnant like you get COVID or you get the flu. I was impregnated by someone else. Women don't get pregnant. Men impregnate women. And I realized thank God we have free choice. Thank God I can choose what to do, because I don't know what I'm going to choose. But the men who legislate don't know what it's like to have something inside of you that is not there because you really wanted it to be there. And so I told him, I said, I don't know. And I spent the rest of the evening alone in my apartment, crying, praying, and saying, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And in that moment, it was like God itself came down and whispered in my ear, this is not about having a baby. This lesson for you is not about bringing a child up. It's not about becoming a parent, not now. It's not about being pregnant and bringing a child into this world for another person. The lesson here, the lesson for you, is to learn how to use your voice. It's to learn how to speak up. It's to learn how to say when something is not okay with you. That's the lesson. That's what this moment is about. You are not to carry a child. You are to learn how to use your voice. And that's when it became clear to me. It wasn't like I came into this wanting to have an abortion. It was more like the lesson for me is not to have a child. And I honor and respect every woman who has chosen to have a child, who has chosen to have a pregnancy and bear a child for another person. And I respect everyone who has chosen or have been guided, divinely guided, to say that is not your lesson. That is not your path, not yet. Voice of Her Own began because I was that person who could not say, who kept myself silent and hidden, like I see so many women do. They want to say something, they will whisper it to each other, but they won't say it. They know what they want, but they don't know how to say it. They're too afraid. They're too afraid of the ramifications. They're too afraid to speak out against whatever it is they're saying, or they're too afraid to even say what they want, even if it's not against anything. That's why I created Voice of Her Own, because there's too many brilliant women silencing themselves in this world. Once I had to make that decision, once that decision was made for me, in all honesty, it became clear. And this is, I will say, one side note. There's a lot of religious people who I've had conversations with who say, but God says every life is a gift. God says to have the children, that if you're pregnant, it's because he wants life to come through. And I say, but God was really fucking clear to me. God really said, that's not your lesson. Not now. So God can say lots of different things because he works in mysterious ways, right? This Mother's Day is here. It's coming. And it's coming right after we learn that women are no longer going to be trusted to do what is best for their bodies and for the beings that are inside of them. Maybe not by all of the states, but by almost half. My work is here so that women can learn to trust themselves, so that they can learn to lay claim to the thoughts that they're having and to give them voice in this world. Because for too long, women's voices have been stifled and we have suffered as a result. Not just women have suffered, but men have suffered as well. After I had to tell people that I was getting an abortion and because I had to leave work, I was an emotional wreck. I needed support. And suddenly all of these amazing, brilliant women shared their stories. I was 14, I was 15, I was 16, whatever. They all shared their stories. Where they were in my position, they had to make the same choice. And as we know from the Me Too movement, there is power, incredible power when women gather together and share their stories and listen to each other, which is another mission of mine in Voice of Her Own, in my work, in my coaching work. We need to come out of the shadows. We need to speak our stories. Me Too alleviated so much stigma and created so much healing with the Me Too movement. And I urge you to share your story like I am sharing my story, because there are women and there are men who have made a similar choice to mine. And I will tell you, this Mother's Day, I am so fucking grateful for my 2 kids. My 2 kids that came into this world because I wanted them, because I chose them. That's what Mother's Day is about. Not because some guy impregnated you. You get to choose what to do when that happens. So I stand for the mothers who are supporting their children and supporting their families. And I stand for the option of women to be trusted to do what is best for their bodies and for the beings inside of them, to trust that they will follow their divine path. And I stand for all of the people who silence their voices, to know that you are not alone. You can stand in your power. You can speak your story. You can share what you want, what you don't want. You can say it. We create safety when more of us say, when more of us use our voice. So I urge you, share your story. You can share it publicly like I'm doing today. You can share it privately amongst friends. But it's time. There's too much at stake if we don't, and if we continue to remain silent. Blessings to all of you. I will see you next week.